Have you ever secretly given your husband the silent treatment, hoping that he'll figure out what he did wrong, only for him to ask, like, are you okay? Yeah, I've been there. Today, we're going to talk about how you can get your husband to love you the way you desire without nagging, begging, or losing your mind. So if you've ever wondered or prayed for your husband to love you the way you need without a fight, trust me, you're not alone. Stick around and I'll tell you how I transformed my marriage just using some simple biblical principles. I remember a time when, I wanted my husband to do certain things, and my way of trying to get him to change or to, just appease me or do what I'm desiring was to just constantly nag him and to just constantly talk about what he's not doing right. And he would get so frustrated. It actually discouraged him from wanting to do anything at all, because no one wants to be nagged, no one wants to be constantly criticized. Sometimes they try so hard to do things that don't come naturally to them, and all they get in response is, oh, it could have been better, it's not so good, I can do it better, or it's not the way I like it. And we fail to realize that encouragement breeds progress. So it's like the more you encourage him, the more he wants to do it, and the better he'll get at it, because he loves hearing the praise and love hearing the compliments. So he's gonna try harder to get more and more, because face it, every human being loves to be praised. They love to brag about how good they are at something. And then the reverse is also true. If someone tells you you're bad at something, or you suck at something, or you're just no good, and that's constantly what you get, you're not gonna want to do it. Sometimes you want to prove them wrong, and your husband may be one of the few people that may do that. But generally speaking, if you continue to discourage him, he's gonna get discouraged, and he's just not gonna want to step up. He's just gonna like lose his mojo. Men are egotistical beings, and they love to know that they're doing a good job. So when I started praising my husband for just little things, like I always talk about washing the dishes. Say I cook a meal and he's like, let me wash up the dishes, let me help you with something, and he washes the dishes. I just show appreciation. I don't go back and check. I don't talk about how good or bad of a job. I just thank him for doing it, being so grateful that he's willing to help. Yes, it's part of his responsibility, but I don't want to discourage him by saying it is whatever because you're supposed to be doing it anyways. The goal is to find reasons to compliment them, to build them up. So that's just one way that I found that it encouraged my husband, and he just started to develop this love for me. And it's little things. We think, we need to do all these big things, but it's just little things, little encouragements, just little words of affirmation, little gestures that we can do can change his heart, change his mind, and give him that desire to just give us the world, whatever that is for us. Because for each woman, our desires are different, but it's gonna want your husband to want to figure it out, want to give you what you want. Love isn't forced, it's cultivated. So we had to start to cultivate. And the biggest thing in this transition or this journey is learning that you can do it yourself. We don't want to be nagging. We don't want to be constantly asking him to change, asking him to do anything. God gave us everything we need as women to single-handedly change our marriage, change our husbands, and bring them closer to Christ, bring our marriage closer to Christ, and just have that that fellowship with our husband that God intended for us to have. So as per usual, I want us to go into Ephesians 5 verse 33. Let each one of you love his wife as himself, and let the wife see that she respects her husband. So respect and love goes hand in hand. For husbands, respect or feeling respected. I know a lot of people like to say everybody needs both love and respect. Yes, we do. That is the truth. But respect is what drives a man. They have big egos, okay? Feeling respected, especially by the woman they love, is very, very much top of the list for a man. And then for love, a woman needs to feel loved, okay? So they go hand in hand. We can't have love without respect, and we can't have respect without love. Not in a marriage. So as wives, when we respect our husbands, we create an environment for love to grow. Because if he's feeling respected, he's gonna start to love you up. He's gonna start doing whatever he can to love you. And this is where you communicate. It's very important. When your husband is trying to love you, make sure you communicate to him what you need to feel loved. You're gonna see that he's gonna be doing all sorts of things, and not all of them are gonna be your love language. So you have to make sure that you communicate your expectations. Don't expect him to know. Don't say he should know. Every woman is different, and so he may be with maybe one or two other partners. He doesn't realize that all women aren't the same. All women don't expect the same things. So you have to communicate with to him clearly what you need. We cannot get upset. We cannot be resentful if we haven't told them what we really want. So instead of trying to demand love, what we're gonna try to do instead is to create a loving environment. You're gonna create an environment that cultivates love, and that's by giving him respect. God made us in a very specific way. Men need respect, but not every man needs respect in the same manner. So you have to figure out, just like women are unique in how they want to be loved, men are unique in how they receive respect, how they want to be respected. So it's like, what do they think is disrespectful and what do they find respectful? So that communication, that having those talks will be very important in this process. So for me, I found that when my husband felt valued and respected, he was just doing the most. He does the laundry, trying to do the dishes, trying to cook. He will attempt to clean. He's just doing whatever he thinks. He's paying attention to what I'm talking about, like what I need, and just trying his best to provide those things for me. When I started to foster and to create that loving environment, that's when my transformation really began. My marriage truly began to change. Let's go into some practical tips that I want you to start implementing now so that you can see a change. You can begin that transformation that you so truly desire. If this content is resonating with you, be sure to follow, share with someone that you think it may help, and also click the link in my bio for my free guide on how to let your husband lead. It's a very resourceful little book that will help you to start the process and that you can keep handy with you. So let's move on. So the first practical tip I have for you is to learn to communicate clearly. Just like I was saying before, we have to start communicating our expectations, communicating how we receive love, what we expect of our husbands. What do we want? What does he need to feel respected? What does he want from you? What are his expectations of you? And a lot of times we like to think that we know our husbands and we know what they want, but I've been married for 13 years and I'm still learning new things about my husband every single day. Like, I will just randomly ask him something because I just never thought to ask, like, I've always done it a certain way. But the thing with me, I like to ask questions because I'm always curious. Obviously, I'm not gonna get to everything, but daily if something comes to my mind, I'm just like, babe, what do you think about so and so? And sometimes I'm so surprised by the answer because I was almost sure he was gonna say one thing or the other, and then he does it, right? So just ask the questions as they come up, even if it seems obvious. Sometimes you will be surprised. I want you to stop with the judgments. So instead of saying something like, "You never listen to me," I want you to say, "I feel unheard when I share my thoughts. Can we talk about it?" Just having that meek posture. Nobody likes to be blamed for anything. But if you're just stating how you feel and telling him, "This is how I feel," it doesn't mean he's not listening. Maybe it's not intentional. My husband has said this to me, like he will tell me, "Babe, I'm not looking for advice. I just want to vent, or I just want to talk." Sometimes you want to talk, but he thinks you're venting, so he's just listening. And so he's listening, not really giving feedback or not actively participating because he just wants you to get it off your chest. So make sure you're communicating clearly what you expect of him in each conversation. So by saying, "Can we talk about it?" it tells him, it communicates to him that I want to have a conversation. I don't just want to vent. Men are very simple beings. It's not like talking to your friend and she can probably pick up on your nonverbal cues. With men, you have to be very direct and tell them what you expect. Most of the times they'll show up for you if they know what you want. And so for me, when I started doing this and I started to communicate to my husband what I wanted from him, or instead of saying, "You never listen to me," those are called judgments. When you say you never, you always. If you start your conversations that way, he's gonna tune you out, sis. You already made a judgment. You don't want to listen, you just want to argue. That's what you're communicating to him. Just be open to communicating clearly and often. Let's move on to number 2. Listen, I cannot stress this one enough. Focus only on what you can control. And guess what, girl? You cannot control your husband. That's why the Bible stresses for you to focus on yourself. It tells the wife exactly what she needs to do and tell the husband exactly what he needs to do. It never tells you, make sure your spouse is doing so and so. You need to focus on your responsibilities, on your duties, what is expected of you. I see so many wives doing this where they just spiral out of control because they're going crazy trying to change things that they cannot change. What is the sense in going crazy and stressing about things outside of your control? That is one of the things that I really, really pray for daily in my life, and I try to practice. If I cannot control it, I'm not thinking about it. I will, in the moment, you're gonna have an emotional reaction, but I have my moment and then I move on. What is the solution? What can we do? If there's a solution or solutions, we're going from solution to solution to solution, or trying. But we're not gonna sit there and stress about things that we can't control. Cause why? What's the reason? You're only gonna stress yourself out, get those gray hairs, you're gonna stop eating, or you're gonna stop taking care of yourself, you're gonna look a mess, and it's just not looking good for you, sis. So take care of your mental health and just do not stress about things outside of your control. Please, I'm begging you. Make sure you're working on the best version of yourself. A happy and confident wife is magnetic. Nobody likes an insecure woman. It's just not attractive. So the number 3 thing I want you to do is to celebrate small wins. You know how I like to talk about my husband washing the dishes, because it seems so silly, but early on in our marriage, that was a big thing, because for the life of me, that man just could not wash dishes to save his life, you know? And even if he put them in the dishwasher, they wouldn't come out right. I don't know what it is. But I just learned to stop complaining. The more I complained, the more I found things to complain about. And I'm a positive person. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's just that feeling of unlovingness, like we're not feeling loved, we're not feeling cherished. And so we want to return the favor, I guess. But once I changed that, it's just so simple, saying thank you. And my husband would always point that out. He's like, why are you always finding the negative? Like, why do you complain? Why can't you just say thank you, you know? And at first I was very upset hearing him say that all the time, because I would say, but I like things done a certain way. And I'd find all the excuses. But just switching, flipping that switch and saying thank you, I really appreciate you doing that. I don't have to ask him to do anything. I don't have to ask him to help, right? Because now he's not helping. It feels like his responsibility. That's how he feels. He's like, it's not a problem. It's my duty anyways to help you, you know? So I'm really trying to explain to y'all that stop complaining, celebrate even the small wins. What is a small thing that your husband constantly does but you take for granted? Start thanking him, start telling him how grateful you are even for the small things, and it's gonna start spilling over into bigger things, more important things. If you start appreciating him, he's gonna start looking for things for you to appreciate him for. Let's move on to number 4. So this one we talk about maybe every video, but it's so important. It's praying for your husband daily. It's hard for you to constantly complain about your husband to God. After a while, you're gonna feel like, God, you must be so sick of me. And you're gonna start to find something good to say. And the more you start finding something good to say and to thank God for about him, the more you're gonna start appreciating those things. You're gonna start looking for things to thank him for. And if you're not, I'm telling you, I'm asking you, I'm admonishing you to pray for him. A lot of the things that I said were outside of your control. It's not that you're gonna just let them go. Sometimes for our own mental health, we need things to change. It's just that you can't change it. So you're not gonna stress about it. You're gonna bring it to God and you're gonna leave it there. You're not going to mention it to hubby anymore. And I do want to recommend to each one of you, if you really want your marriage to change, go check out the movie called War Room. I watched it when it just came out, but my husband put it on the other day and I could not believe how much it resonated with my message, how it resonated with using biblical principles, using prayer to change your husband, to change your marriage without uttering a word to him, without any expectations of him, just you and God working in the background. So please, I encourage you to watch that movie. I'm gonna try to link it down below because we watch it on YouTube. The full video is on YouTube. Listen to me. And listen to me clearly. I'm not trying to tell you that your husband or your marriage is gonna change when you wake up in the morning and that your husband is suddenly gonna be Mr. Romantic. It's a process. But what I can tell you is that you may wake up to a clean kitchen, and that's a great start, right? I think so. Change doesn't happen overnight, but when you trust God's design and trust his process and start putting these biblical principles into practice, you will see progress. What I want you to remember is that love is cultivated through respect, communication, and trust. Remember, you don't have to nag or beg. Just start with these small steps and just watch your marriage grow and bloom in Christ. If this video helped you, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't yet, please subscribe for more videos like this. And don't forget to grab my free guide in the description down below. It's a free ebook about how to let your husband lead. It's packed with more strategies for creating the marriage you desire.